Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me in this capitalistic hellscape that we live in called planet Earth. Especially if you are in one of the current countries right now that is experiencing a lot of turmoil where the leaders and billionaires are going absolutely insane. Uh, yeah, just watching it, our future seemingly burned down in front of us. So fun. Today I want to talk about the things that I do to help keep me sane in this capitalistic world, this capitalistic society that wants you to not enjoy life that isn't hand fed to you by a billionaire. So I spend a lot of time daydreaming. I spend a lot of time thinking about and hoping for a world outside, past capitalism. Like we've grown out of it, through, like overthrew it, whatever it takes. We know, thank you. We no longer live in a capitalist ruled world. Ugh, and I know that can be hard to think of because it's all we've known. We can only imagine life in a capitalistic world. But I think by thinking about what it would look like to not live in that world where you are expected and to work all the time, to, you know, serve billionaire overlords. And it really was a time in the world where you lived in community with people and you guys helped each other and you were able to live for yourself, and byproduct of being able to properly live and take care of yourself, you could also help your neighbors live and take care of themselves. This again is hard to think about because we also live in a hugely self-individualized world. Individualism is encouraged and is pushed again by the capitalistic world, because when you start being in community with one another, you start realizing that, maybe you start realizing that your neighbors are, being taken advantage of, or your neighbors are suffering just as you are. And, you guys start getting together and coming up with ideas about how to fix problems. And, if you guys start fixing problems in small communities, you're going to be wondering why can't the, the people that you are submitting to, your bosses, the politicians, like why, if you guys together can fix these problems, why can't they fix problems? And then you start wanting to hold them as a community, you all start wanting to hold the people above you in power also to be accountable, and they don't like that. Why would they? So, also, as well, when you guys are hyper individualized and encouraged to just do everything for you, to live for yourself, you never talk to other people. And when you do talk to other people, it's not to get to know them or to hear their life story or to see what, lessons they've learned, because when you start talking to each other, you learn new perspectives and you think, I'd never thought of it that way, but maybe they were right, or I've never had that life experience, but they have, and I can learn from that. And there's a lot less infighting, and as you grow as a community, again, you're not fighting at this level, you're all joined together and united at this level, and then you start looking at the actual problem, which is the people and power above you who are worried that you're going to become a community and worried that you're going to want to not continue to submit to this capitalistic lifestyle anymore, because that is their worst nightmare. And I live to watch their worst nightmare come true. That is what is keeping me here on this earth is I want to live past capitalism and I want to watch a new world come after it, come from up underneath it, you know? So personally, my dream life outside of capitalism is it's a beautiful life. It's a life that I think about often. This is a genuine smile. This is a genuine smile. I genuinely get excited thinking about a world where capitalism is not the main power. So, personally, here's what my little life would look like. And I encourage you in the comments or wherever just to start thinking about what your dream life would look like. Because the more you think about it, and the more you hear from other people what their dream life outside of capitalism would look like, the more you realize that it is feasible. So, yeah, it's feasible. You can do it. We can all do this. And life would not fall apart. Like, we would all be able to survive and thrive together in little communities. My, so here's mine. Here's mine, you guys. Listen, listen, listen. I live in a little cottage. Not too big. Big enough I could have a friend or two or over in the guest bedroom, but I love cozy spaces, so I would want a cozier space. I would want to live on about an acre or two. I'd want to have a couple of fruit trees, a nice big garden, and some chickens. Now, my contribution to the community would be the chickens and the farm. I have worked on a farm the majority of my life, and I'm actually at a time in my life where I'm not surrounded by a bunch of plants, and it feels very weird. So I would want to make sure that not only am I providing produce and eggs and chicken products to the community, I also want to provide education for other people who may also want to start a little garden or farm at home, how to be able to do that. So I would go over to their houses, I would sit down with them, I would show them how to check their soil, I would show them maybe where the best place to set up a garden or a little chicken farm would be, and I would work with them until they got to the point of being able to be independent and do this on their own. So that would be little um, my little world. In exchange for my help from them, my help to them, I would receive, for instance, if they already had, like, they wanted chickens but they already had sheep, I would take some wool or some blankets from them. Or if they were a potter, a potter, a potter, I would take some like pottery from them that I could work into my home. If they were an artist, I personally like doing my own art, but if I really liked their art, we would come up with a trade. Maybe I'd give them some eggs for some art, and that would be how I interact with the community. I would sell seeds probably as well in exchange for various things. If they didn't have something that I could trade with them, then I would probably accept money in like a physical form, but ultimately I would just invest that money back into the farm and the community. Uh, yeah, I love the idea of where goods are bartered instead of money being paid as the primary form of currency. It's like goods and it's time and it's skill instead of just money. Here's how I spend my time in my dream world. I work on my farm. I wake up when the sun wakes up. I work on my farm. I check with my chickens, I get them all settled, make sure they're fed, collect eggs. I have 2 cats and a dog. Okay, very specific. And they hang out with me as I'm cooking inside, and then I take the dog outside to go check on the chickens, maybe to have the dog help me move them to a new area and so they can graze a bit more on some old dead farmland that I need to have them clear out. And I work through some compost, check on the irrigation lines, and then I go in. It's probably about midday. I have lunch. I take a little nap. I wake up and it's now hobby time. So I firstly go quickly put the chickens back in, do a last little quick harvest, and then I come inside. I light my candles. I turn on my warm small lamp because I don't like cool light, so everything in my house would be very warm and colorful. And I turn on some music. I decide what hobby I'm doing, whether that's writing or making a video, like an educational video on farming or something of the sort, or if I'm doing art or journaling or some tarot, reading, whatever I want to do. I spend a couple hours doing that. Now it's dinner time. I actually have some friends coming over for dinner that night. So they come over, they bring some goods from their place. Like, for instance, in my head, my friend's coming over bake bread. So they're bringing over some fresh bread. So I am taking some of the eggs that I have, and they're going to bring some flour for me, and we're going to actually have a homemade pasta night. So I also had already picked up some tomatoes from my storage where I had them all nice and made into tomato sauce. So we're going to make our own pasta in our fun little shapes, and then we're going to cook them together. We're going to have some of my preserves, my fruit preserves of whatever was fresh last season, on some toast for dessert with some cream. And then we're gonna sit around and we're gonna yap, or they're gonna have brought their hobbies, whether that's crochet or knitting or art or embroidery or woodworking, whatever it is. They brought their hobbies, and we're all gonna sit around a nice lamp, listening to some music, talking and drinking tea or coffee while the animals run around and cuddle up with us. And we're gonna talk about our days and we're gonna talk about the community, and we're not gonna have to talk about how much we hate our jobs or how worried we are about bills, because we don't have to. We live in a world where, yeah, we're not rich compared to what we now think of as rich, but we don't have to worry about the things that we worry about now because our life is so different. This is crazy when you think about it. It has genuinely taken me a long time to fully flesh out in my head what it would look like to live in a non-capitalist world, because I was born into capitalism. You were born into capitalism. This is the only thing we know. But when we allow ourselves to dream outside the lens of capitalism, it looks like we start getting hopeful, and we start realizing that the path that we're on as a capitalist society is not sustainable, and it's getting worse. Every year, every month, it's getting worse and worse, and it's becoming more and more unsustainable, and it's becoming more and more harmful, not only to us as individuals, us as communities, us as nations, us as the planet. And it needs to change. So if enough of us start dreaming outside of capitalism, start imagining these beautiful lives that we could live, and we start talking with other people about their lives outside of this, and we start getting together and seeing what small changes we can make now to get closer and closer to our dream lives. And the more of us taking small steps towards this dream life will help more people look around and be like, oh my gosh, they're taking those steps. If they can take those steps, maybe we can take these steps. And then not only are we not relying on capitalism and this capitalistic world as the only thing that we can think about, we're starting to realize that maybe we don't need capitalism so much anymore. And yeah, that would be terrifying to think about right now. And I'm sure that the overlords would hate that as well. Not would, they will. When we get to this point, they will hate this and they will try to make it as hard as possible. But once we tap into community and we're not just trying to do this by ourselves, we're unstoppable. And we can bring about the world to look like however we, as communities, as peoples, want it to look like. Yeah, I think about this a lot, so I thought I would share it with you. Have a good day. Please consider subscribing for more anti capitalist, disability friendly rambling. Yeah.